So you mentioned metrics a couple different times there, which is perfect because the next thing that I wanted to cover is measurement. And we're marketers. I'm guilty of this. You're guilty of this. We love to overcomplicate things and we love to try and measure everything. And I think when it comes to experimentation, if you're trying to measure everything, you're not setting yourself up well, and you're going to spend so much time tracking it and less time experimenting that it's not going to get off the ground. So how are you kind of analyzing experiments once you've launched them, and how often are you doing that? And there's a couple follow-up questions that I have after.
Yeah. So this is where we get into the attribution stuff, right? And like, if we only did marketing that could be attributed, then we'd be doing shit marketing. And so when you're thinking about experimentation, the easy one is like something focused on an event, like not an event like a community, like an event, but like some activity happening. So you're capturing a lead, you're capturing a demo request, there's some thing where you can say like, oh, you can measure that thing that happened and you can basically optimize to it. So that's the easy one. And usually that's around like demand stuff, like leads, MQLs, demo requests, website visits, just like these things that are simple to measure. Those are the easy experiments to set up. The hard ones are the brand experiments. And so like,
my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could even argue, some people could even argue like, are brand experiments actual experiments? Are they just, is every brand thing an experiment? Or, because there's usually not an easy way or a direct way to measure like the impact of a brand activity. Sometimes, you can get proxies and you can like, oh, they read it or they saw it or they clicked it, but that's not ultimately what you're going for. You're going for mind share and you're going for brand awareness and you're going for, so without like studies, like brand lift studies and what's the word I'm looking for? Qualitative. Thank you. The qualitative stuff. Good second. The qualitative stuff, and that's what you're really looking for on the brand side of things. And also the brand stuff usually isn't like measurable in a small time frame. You know what I mean? So you're like, oh, I did this brand stuff and it yielded some success for me 3-6 months down the road. So that's just the challenge, right? But it doesn't mean like you shouldn't do brand experiments or you shouldn't try and measure them. Like you just want to try and get, well, what's the closest thing I can get to a proxy? Is this doing better than another brand thing that I did in that metric? You know what I mean? So you are looking at some things, but it's harder to understand the true bottom line impact to like revenue or demand.
Yeah. One, I think I'll put that in the backlog of topics because I know that many other people are struggling with the same thing right now. Just how are you measuring brand marketing? Yeah. So that is a good idea. And I think on the qualitative side of things, I mean, the two easiest ways that we do this are gong trackers and then just looking at the replies to emails that I send out, the comments that people are leaving. Are they from the right titles? Are they from the right companies? Are they happening more frequently than they were, let's say, a month ago or 3 months ago? And a lot of it's gut feel, which is, I would say, challenging when your CEO is a quant and an engineer turned marketer. But I think the more that you take screenshots of those and share it with, your VP of marketing or your CEO or whoever's interested in it, you can still get some of that, feedback. It's just not quantifiable. So it's tough.
Yeah. And, with us marketing to marketers, we really try and do different things because like that's really what's going to attract a marketer because they want to see things that they haven't done before that they don't know about. And so for us, we get comments on those things, like you mentioned. You know what I mean? We even have an ad out there that has like, I don't even know how many comments and likes on it, on the ad
It's
itself.
with Jason's face. He's being humbled. Yeah. It's his video. It's like like an outrageous amount though at this point.
Yeah. And I did that ad in 30 minutes, I think, like 30 or 45 minutes, like concept to like production, and so it's just crazy.
Well, actually, this is unplanned. Let's talk through that because it's a perfect example of us seeing that there was a gap in pipeline, trying to throw out a bunch of ideas. And I mean, this has been performing well and it's gotten great feedback. So let's talk through it really quick. I think that's a good example.
Yeah. It was exactly that. We were soft on demo requests in a given month or quarter. And, full transparency, we rely pretty heavily on a single channel and tactic for a lot of it. And so if anything happens to that channel or tactic, we're like, let's let's scramble, and kind of like figure out what's going on. And yeah, from what I remember, I was just like, I had just done like 3 other video ads on like some of our product features, and they just didn't, it was like they didn't perform as well as we were hoping that they would. And so I was like, man, what is it? Like what might people want to hear? And I can't remember where I got the idea, but do you know? Do you remember?
We had seen it
That's what I thought.
from
We'd seen it somewhere.
I kind of a pseudo competitor. I'm not going to give them any publicity here, but we saw it and naturally made it 10 times better. But
Cool.
yes,
Okay.
keep going.
So, and then I was like, put myself in the mind of a marketer, which is not hard to do. And then like, what would I want to hear if I just like, and also I knew like at this point we had been marketing enough and we knew like we'd been in front of most of our target accounts. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to like come at them like they know us, and I'm just going to come at, I'm just going to say like, hey, I'm like you two. I don't want to be pitch slapped. I don't want to hard sell. So guess what? We don't do it that way. Um, and it was something like, we don't think of demos as like sales opportunities, which was kind of ridiculous to say that because of course we do. But like what I really meant was like, we don't see the demos as like a chance for our rep to just like beat you down, like that's not what we see it as. But it's more like, we just want to answer your questions. We should be here to consult you through your decision. And it was really pointed at the marketer was like, let me respect you and your right to know what's best for you and your department, So let us be here, come check us out, just let us be here to answer your questions, et cetera. So anyway, not to get too deep into it, but that was like the frame of it. And it was just like, let's try this out, and we just, like I said, from concept, I wrote it out, I recorded it. No, I was here. I was thinking maybe I was in Miami. Literally, I just did it as like an aside almost. And then send it off. We got it edited a little bit, put it out there, and it was just like, oh. And we started to see like, because some of the demo experiments we've done in the past start off like they race. They're like, oh, all of a sudden 10 demos came in from that, and then they like quickly trail off, which I'm like, that's interesting. So that's what I was kind of waiting for on this one. I was like, okay, this is going to be another one of those like, it gets us like 10 more this month or something, but then it's going to wane. But then it didn't, and then you start to see like, oh, it's working. Okay, we started with a retargeting audience because we thought like, and that worked really well. Okay, hey, let's go outside the retargeting audience. Great, still worked, And so now it's an evergreen campaign, and then like we were talking about, it got some like good comments because, again, marketing to marketers. But I have to imagine this would be the same for like a lot of other people. We like to see things that are new and interesting, that catches our attention, and like the stuff that's always been done, it shouldn't catch our attention unless you've just like done it to the nth degree. You know what I mean? And so it was just like one of those where I think people, and it was like an ad where I start typing, like I'm just like talking to you, like, oh, hey, you over there. And I've done one like that a long time ago too, which actually worked pretty well. Very underproduced, it was like, this is the background.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that because I think one of the things that stuck out to me was how low production it was. And, we spend a little bit of time polishing it up,
Yeah.
but it is not, we don't have a video resource. We have an agency that can, help polish it up for us, but this is not some highly produced video.
Nope.
And I think there's something to be said about that because people almost trust the less produced things a little bit more than something that looks pixel perfect. And it's like, all right, what's actually going on? Because that looks too good.
Yeah. I'm the same way too. When I see something just like, oh, that's really overproduced, going to the masses. But I think the trend more, and we see this with like, unfortunately, TikTok and like some of these other advertising platforms, is it needs to be an ad that doesn't feel like an ad, and to do that, it has to feel like a post almost, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's got to feel like like an organic video. And that's what we tried to do. And we want to do more of those, but yeah, I think it's like, it can show up almost like a post, you know what I mean? So like you start to see it, there's not like a big metadata splashy logo that starts it out, it's just me like typing, like I'm over here and I like turn to the camera and so, yeah, it's, and it's easier to do, right? Like than overproduced. And then you're yourself, you're authentic. I think I even mess up a little bit in that ad, honestly. Like I think I like, I pause, cause I'm like, I forgot what to say for a second, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to do it over. And there it is,
That's awesome. And I think The last thing I would add is for some of the people, and I'm sure there's a way to quantify this. This is really, really fuzzy math though, but we've had people post about that exact ad on LinkedIn. It's probably happened a handful of
Yeah.
times. And they've all mentioned that it feels more like native advertising without actually feeling like an ad. And that was our intent, but for it to land as well as it did and get people to posting about it, we never thought that would
No,
happen. That's pretty
especially on
amazing.
that one. Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. You never know. You never know what's going to land. Like, I would have, like I told you, I thought that one was going to be like, boom, up, down. Didn't have any other expectations for it. And that's actually happened throughout my entire time here. Like, I remember some of the first ads that Matt and I started running, like in 2019. And I was like, oh, that's going to work. That's going to work. What is this? I was like, this is garbage. The garbage one is the one that like worked. And I just saw
Yep.
that constantly over and over. I'd be proven. I don't know what I, I know. I obviously know generally what they want because like we're winning and we're doing well, but the specifics, like, no, everybody's different. And we've learned a lot of that.